large group, so it's wonderful to have you. When did you start? Monday, Tuesday?
Monday morning.
Like today's your last day?
Yes.
Okay, good. Many of you going back tonight? Okay, so welcome to our building. Thank you, Rabbi Slavata. Is this your Reverton?
Better half,
Yeah. You said that it took your, had you say slow vita, so that's how it got into. Sorry that I shared that, but now I can remember.
Very personal.
No, very personal. Very nice to meet the Reverton and to meet all of you. And shkoach for coming, really a very big shkoach for coming and being with us at this time. It's been a schut there for Mizrahi to play a role in facilitating so many groups. We have about 4 or 5 groups a week that come. And I want to thank my friend and colleague who's about to sit down. This is Rabbi Danny Mervis. Yes, he is the son of the chief rabbi of the British Commonwealth, but he's also the son of Lady Valerie, that's his mother. I always just point that out. He's been our deputy CEO since October 7th. Soon thereafter, we made him the acting CEO to allow myself and my wife and family to do everything we can to bring our son Daniel back home. So I want to thank Rabbi Perez for taking on so much of the leadership of Mizrahi, and also specifically the solidarity groups, because obviously in every difficult challenge there's also always opportunities for growth and to move forward. And one of the incredible things to come out of this, which would not have been foreseen, I believe, by the architects of this mass murder and torture of Hamas, is exactly how much they would bring the Jewish people together, what they would bring out in the Jewish people, what they would reveal to us who we are, and that they see and the world sees who we are as a people, both in terms of the self-sacrifice and Mesirat Nefesh, as well as in terms of the unity, and so much unity in Israel. 300,000 people returning during the first few weeks of the war in order to fight. It's where do you have in the annals of I suppose all history, or certainly modern history, that in a time of war 300,000 people return, 3% of Israel's population return, as opposed to leave and stay out. And then unity within Israel, notwithstanding the certain political arguments, and also groups such as yourselves from around the world coming all over to give us support and chizuk at this time is an amazing thing. And I know that Ramon is just had to leave. There's lots of things he's balancing, but I just wanted to thank him because we also then created sort of a mishlachat, solidarity missions department, to try and facilitate it as much as possible, because it's very much what we're about as Mizrahi, as the global religious Zionist movement, building the centrality of the land and state of Israel in Jewish identity and destiny. The motto always of the Mizrahi founders, who were the religious, sort of the Rabbonim, who joined the world Zionist movement, notwithstanding the challenges of it being a national secular movement, but believing that Jewish nationhood and the desire to return to Israel is totally compatible with Torah Judaism, and there may be challenges and snags and all challenges along the way, like there often is in life, but being able to work together to facilitate both saving the Jewish people from the pogroms of Eastern Europe, and also bringing, facilitating the collective return. And so having groups come from around the world and connect is very unique. So Yishar Koach to you. All right, I was given till 12:15. Okay, 12:10. All right, so I just want to structure this in a way that I want to give you some time for questions as follows. So, other than my job at Mizrahi, which I'm now the chairman, our biggest focus as a family right now, obviously, is returning our son back home. We hope and pray alive and well and in one piece, B'ezrat Hashem. Our son was taken captive on the 7th of October, Simchat Torah. He's a tank commander and officer in the IDF, was after a couple of hours of some gallant defense of the invasion. They were, unfortunately, him and 2 others of the tank were taken captive. They were missing for 3 weeks, and then defined as presumed taken captive and then taken captive. Today is day 139. They told us on the first day, they didn't actually tell us. We heard the word was nutak kesher, that we have no connection. And it's just hard to believe that it's 139 days later and still Nukta Keshe. We know absolutely nothing of his whereabouts, other than that he was injured, which we found out 6 weeks later, that they found some blood in and around the tank, and it is unfortunately his blood. Thankfully, not enough blood quantitatively and the contents of the blood to point chas v'shalom at of necessity a fatal injury. We hope and pray it was a light injury, but we don't know. I've always believed that if he got through that first day okay, then he'll be okay. Hamas need him alive and well, but we don't know exactly what happened on that first day. Other than that, for 2 hours of very, very gallant fighting and defending, which I don't want to speak about that. Just sorry, give me one just about my wife as well. Nikki? Sorry, I'm just in a talk. I just wanted to couldn't hold a Shelly. Is she okay? Is she having a rest? Or? Oh, that's what she was doing. Okay, fine. Okay, I just couldn't get a hold of her. I was just concerned. Alright, I understand. Okay, alright. So then I'll talk to her. Yeah, that's fine. I just want to talk to her, yeah. Alright, I'll talk to her later. Yeah. I just couldn't get hold of her. I was a bit worried. Okay, thank you. Thanks, ciao. Bye. My wife had a very difficult morning this morning, so I was very reticent to leave, but her friends are with her, just couldn't get hold of her. I want to make sure she's okay. Sorry about that. As I say, I hope and pray that he was okay on that first day, that Bezrat Hashem, that he will be okay. But we part of the challenge is over and above the general lack of knowledge is also knowing that he was injured, which is really, really challenging. So our story is, I'll tell you briefly a bit about our story, then maybe one or two reflections. I'd like to give you time. I just feel like giving you time to ask questions. I'm a bit, we say in South Africa, pap. It's been a difficult morning. And I don't know how you say pap in American English, like just a bit low energy. So maybe it's got to do with having anything to eat or drink, but that doesn't help. But we'll, no, not looking to you. I'll once I ask questions, fine. So it's fine. Thank you. No. It's fine. It's all good. Okay, you can make me a cup. Okay. Thanks. Rabbi Yamin. Yeah. 1 sugar, 1 flat spoon of coffee, 1 flat spoon of sugar, and with milk. Thank you, Rabbi Yamin. Sorry to be mashamish Talmid Chacham. So Chevra as follows. I imagine you've guessed this is a South African accent. You might not have guessed. Some Americans say it's an Australian accent or an English. Sorry? Absolutely. Thank you. We made Aliyah 10 years ago for the second time, because I made Aliyah for the first time when I was 18. When I finished high school, I came to Israel for a year, studied in a yeshiva called Beit El in the Shomron, and then I went and did the Israeli Army yeshiva called, the Hesder program. Shkoyach, thank you. I'm going to do the rabbinic thing and make a bracha. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'chol nivra.
Amen.
Thank you. You got the job, Rabbi Yamin. You got the job. So I met Ali at the age of 18. I was 10 years in Israel between yeshivot, army, Hesder program, university, did degree in education. You're doing well now. If you can bring me a cup, that'll also be good. Thank you. Sorry. No, don't bring the whole. No, I've done well. Let me just, I'm just going to pour this and take it back in case others want. Yeah, let me give it back to you. Is that all right? Okay. Clearly my South African accent is not very audible. I'll just leave you. Oh, Rabbi Yamin, it's your last job.
I'm going to beat her.
Yeah. So, it just gets better and better. Thank you. No, I don't want to take a gobble. We'll share it. Okay. So, thank you. So I made Aliyah 10 years ago, when I was 18. Having been in Israel for 10 years, my parents moved to Israel in my third year. I actually wanted to be a doctor and go back to South Africa to study medicine. But I decided to stay on in Israel another year or two, and my parents made Aliyah. And then I decided to stay on in yeshiva, and eventually did smicha, as I said, and a degree in education. And then went back to South Africa for a 2-year shlichut with my wife and our 4-month-old baby, Jonathan. What we thought would be 2 years of giving back to the community, which wanted to bring a young rabbi, and I'm still a young rabbi, but they wanted to bring an even younger rabbi. And then we went and for a 2 to 3 year shlichut, which became 15 years. I would have stayed on further had the position of World Mizrahi not become available, because I felt a tremendous sense of contribution and making a difference in South Africa. Although my whole family lived in Israel, I felt that we were making a difference. But this position in Mizrahi did become available. I was always looking to come back to Israel, and eventually we made the decision to come back in 2014. We actually came in the middle of Operation Protective Edge. Tukaitan wasn't by design, we decided a year before, and we assumed the role of CEO of Mizrahi. The last 2.5 years it's chairman, but that's the role. And we came back then with 4 children, which we Baruch Hashem have. Our 4-month-old Jonathan is now 15. Daniel was born in South Africa, he's 13. He came back after his bar mitzvah, and we have 2 daughters, Adina and Shira, who are now, they were then 10 and 6, they're now 20 and 16. Fast forward from July 2014 to October 7th, Simchat Torah 2023. Both our sons have been one to yeshiva for 2 years, one for 1 year. Both have been to the army for 3 to 4 years, 5 years. Jonathan is a company commander in the paratroopers, which means that he commands 150 soldiers who were then 2 months into their 8-month basic training. He was at home for Shabbat with his fiancée then Galia, and all of his soldiers were at their homes. Daniel was based in Nachal Oz for Shabbat, tank commander, an officer. Daniel has always been our problem child, and he's still our problem child. He's still causing us problems. He's going to be in big trouble when he comes back. I say that obviously tongue in cheek. Do you use that expression in America?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I say things, people go, what? Tongue in cheek, So Daniel's the child who taught us what it means to be a parent. That you don't really have control. You think you do. At some point, children are going to make their own decisions. When you've got more sort of mainstream kids like Jonathan, you have the veneer that you're in total control, because they just like naturally on the derech you want them to be on. Daniel's best line in all of Tanakh is Chanoch lanar al pi darko. He said, Dad, your job as a parent is to work out what my derech is, not the other way around. My job as a child is to work out your job, but that's my job. Don't do my job for me. Don't do my job for me. Your job is to work out what makes me tick and educate me accordingly. And boy, oh boy, did this kid teach us this in every possible way. He's the type of ADHD plus all those things kid who from a very early age, I could see that this kid is going to be whoever he wants to be. I actually felt a real sense of relief, because it was so clear to me that this child is going to do whatever he wants to do. And every single time I got into a power battle with him, I lost. It took me a long time to work that out, much longer than it should have. Because we're parents, and it's our responsibility, and we feel a huge responsibility, which we do have. But ultimately, I remember going to therapy for him, and the psychologist just trying to make me accept that I can't change things. And I said, no, I didn't come to pay you so that you can make it easier for me to accept what I don't want to accept. She said, but that is what this is about. She said, you've tried every other power struggle and it hasn't worked. I mean, vakasha, keep going. If you just want to keep going and destroy the relationship, gesundheit, But what about my responsibility? She's a from sucker. What about my responsibility as a parent? Okay, you've got issues, you can deal with Hashem with that, I don't know. But this child is going to be whoever he wants to be. I'm not just talking from a Yiddishkeit point of view, I'm talking in general. This kid is on his own, Derek, he loves extreme sport, and taking risks was not a problem, and I had a huge issue with that. He said, you're not going to take a risk. He said, Dad, it's my life, not yours. I said, it is, but it's my responsibility to. He wanted to get a motorbike, which he did not. One battle I won with him. He wanted to get a motorbike, absolutely not. And we had a massive fight about it for months. And he said, it's my responsibility, it's my choice, it's not your choice. You're 16 years old, it's not your choice. He said, it is my choice, and I can get it whether you like it or not. And I said, but you're not going to get it. He said, Dad, that's not your choice. It's my choice. I said, it is because it's pikuach nefesh. He says, okay. He thought about it, he comes back, he says, didn't your uncle Colin have a motorbike? Didn't two of his sons who you love so much, are you saying that they're irresponsible human beings? So I said, I'm not. But I wasn't responsible for their upbringing. I am responsible for you until the age of 18. He loved that, the age of 18 game. Like, so after 18, that's fine then. You know, all of a sudden it's fine for me to do what I want to. So it's just a 2-year machloket we've got. So he didn't get the bike. We fought tooth and nail with him, but he's an unbelievable negotiator. He came back, he said, you know, Dad, I've thought about it. Are you okay with me getting a quad bike? You know what that is? He said, it seems to me that you had two issues with a motorbike. Number one, it's a coffin and wheels, used to call it 2-seater. And number two, you know, you got no protection on the road. But if I have a 4-seater and drive it off the road, are you okay with it? I said, oh, yeah. Let me talk to Mommy, I think we are. He said, okay, it costs double the price, you need to put in the second half. I said, no, I'm only getting it for you. I'm getting it for me. For me, I'd get the motorbike. Yeah, you couldn't win an argument with him. And these are the easy arguments. I must take you through some of these things. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you just one story. There's a story about Daniel made me realize how strong-willed this kid is, and this was a turning point for me. They couldn't be more different, our two boys, but yet turns out they couldn't be more similar. They became incredibly close, particularly after Aliyah, because they went through Aliyah at the age of 15 and 13. They became very close to each other. Jonathan also through the army experiences. Daniel I saw mature incredibly in the army. He's the type of kid, I always say about him, if he wants to do something, if he doesn't want to do something, nothing will make him. And if he wants to do something, nothing will stop him. The question is working out what he wants to do and not going against it. As hard as it is as a parent. I'll tell you just two stories of how I learned it very difficult with him, but I saw incredible maturity, and it turns out I saw his diary that came back from the army I hadn't seen before. After about 2 months, a month and a half, the army brought back a few boxes of all of his stuff, his tefillin and his uniform and his this and his that they found in the base. It was very hard. I still haven't been able to open the boxes. Are very hard. He just put it in his room. But my oldest son and older daughter went through it, and they said, Dad, there's a diary there that you'll really you'll get chizuk from. So they left it on the desk for me, and I was reading it the other day, and he basically says, Dvarim shani choshev alehem lifnei hashena, which in our jargon would be cheshbon nefesh. The things that I think about if I go to sleep. Just number one, why am I in the Israeli army? Why am I doing this tough kid? And he says, at the age of grade 11, I went to Poland, and we experienced firsthand the price of not having the ability to defend ourselves. And he said, it's a tremendous schut to, in his words, lahagen al habayit v'amishpacha, on the national homeland and our home. And then he says, im lo ani azmi, how can I not take responsibility? Then he has a quote from a soldier called Bar Falach Hashem Yikom Damo, an officer who was killed 1.5 years ago. And he has a quote, a very powerful quote of his, which he reflects on every day about what it means to be a soldier in the Israeli army. He then writes about how trying to improve every day as a soldier, as an officer, and a few other things. And it turns out that our sons are very similar to each other, but everyone has to get there in their own way. And I'll just tell you two things about Daniel. After this, I realized, I said, Hashem, okay, this kid's going to do whatever he wants to do. Listen to the story. He's 12 years old. He comes to me and he says to me, he's a very honest child, Daniel. He's the kid who loses at every game of poker, but he doesn't have a poker face. But that's not simple when you're naughty and you are honest. Not an easy combination. You have to tell your parents the things that you're doing, which is not good. So he comes to me one day and he tells me, he's 12, he said, Dad, there's something I want to tell you. that I think I want to do something which I know you're going to know is wrong. I think it's not right of me as a 12-year-old son to do it behind your back. So I want to tell you what it is and give you the choice to decide what punishment, I guess. And then I'll decide if it's worth my while to do it. Like I was seething. Daniel, just repeat that again. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. He says again. I said, Daniel, you are not going to do it. He said, Dad, that's not your choice. It's my choice. I said, Daniel, you're 12 years old and you're not going to do it. Not in my home. What? Say that again. He says, not in my home. You mean outside the home? It's okay. And in the home, he said, Dad, most of the time you're not at home. I can do it all day in the home without you seeing. That's your line in the sand, not in the. What type of line is that? I said to him, after the age of 18, okay, so it's an age thing. He says, okay, I understand that. He said, Dad, it's my decision, not yours. I said, you should consider yourself lucky that I've even told you that I'm thinking of doing it and I'm giving you a choice. Punishment. I said, Daniel, you're not going to do it. He said, Dad, that's my choice, not yours. I was seething. I went to talk to my wife about it. We came out with a punishment. I can't even remember what he wanted to do. It's irrelevant, you'll see, because I think I told him that, I think we just gave him a cell phone and we said, we'll take it away. I came back with a very harsh punishment. So he listens to the punishment. He says, Dad, are you serious? He says, you know that you've just taken my free choice away. He said, you've given me such a harsh punishment that no 12-year-old would do. He says, go back and think about it again. And he says, come back with a fair punishment. I mean, give me a choice. I said, Daniel, but you don't have a choice. He said, Dad, that's the problem. I do have a choice. That's when I said, you know what, this kid, Baruch Hashem. Another time, we made Aliyah, and we're 2 years into the Aliyah, and I wanted him to come to Dublin with me one day, and this was my line in the sand. That day on Shabbos, he's coming with me to Dublin. Daniel, come to Dublin. He said, Dad, I went to bed late, I'll come later. Eventually I said, he could see that I meant business. This time, he wasn't going to fob off his father. He said, Dad, are you sure this is the battle you want to have? Are you sure? I said, today it's important to me. He he's getting dressed, brushing his teeth. He said, Dad, he says, come here. He says, I want you to know that I am going to come with you to Dublin, but from now on I've decided I'm taking off my kippah. I said to him, are you serious? He said, no, but I'm just trying to show you you're going to lose. I've got so much on you. You're going to lose. I said, why? Like you keep getting into these power struggles. It's just not worth it. So eventually, there's only one battle I won with him, and that was the battle over the bike, because that was a pikuach nefesh thing. And I think in the end, he decided, thank God, he didn't get a bike or a quad bike. He found an extreme sport called wakeboarding. You know what wakeboarding is? A type of water skiing in a lake, whatever. So Daniel goes around the lake. This is in the summer holidays. He's 18. Full stick around the lake. Then he goes around the lake, full stick over a ramp. Then he goes full stick over a ramp and does 360-degree flips in the air. And then when one of his escapades, he falls badly, tears his anterior cruciate ligament and some cartilages. And as a result of that, he was unable to be a combat soldier. He got a low physical profile. Daniel does not take no for an answer. He basically fought with the army doctors until they moved it up to 72. He found a loophole in the report. He read the report of the doctor and he found a certain loophole that the doctor said in the initial report he was going to do something, but he didn't do. He said, but that changes the picture. Anyway, at the end, the army realized they've got to get this kid off their, off their back, and they moved him up to 72, which meant he could go to tanks. He absolutely loves and loves the tank. He loves the power of the tank. He loves also he's very quick in the uptake. He's very quick. He likes the complexity of the system. And he did really, really well. Excelled in the army, made a decision. I noticed that before he went into the army, he was reading a lot of books about financial investment. He would come and sit with me and say, Dad, I see all your thousands of books. You don't have much in financial investment. I see it's not important to you. Why? Don't you want your money to work for you? So I said to him, well, isn't that much money? He said, but whatever money you've got, you should make it work for you. He couldn't understand it. But I noticed the last year and a half, he was only reading all my leadership books. He wasn't reading financial investment books anymore. And he became an outstanding soldier, an outstanding officer. I was thinking of continuing in the army. And comes Simchat Torah, personally for me, he was in the best state that I've seen him. Incredibly mature. He's the biggest Chevraman you'll meet. The biggest Chevraman. The highest mark he got in his grade 12 was in a game called Fortnite. I don't know if you know. I'm sorry if your kids know what Fortnite is. I'm sorry. My son was the biggest Heberman playing this game of shooting people, whatever. But you played with all kids all over the world. So he's playing it with all of his South African friends in the thickest South African slang accent, and 3 seconds later the game's over, and then he's playing a new game in the thickest Sephardi accent with all of his Sephardi Israeli friends. He the biggest socialite and all of that. So in my mind's eye, if Daniel is alive and well, I see him playing Shesh Besh backgammon with his captors, and I think he'll have it all under control, maybe having a smoke with them if they're not in a tunnel, and just saying, guys, it'll be okay, it's going to be okay, don't worry, it's always going to be okay, you know. But again, we don't know what his situation is in. So this is our Daniel. Comes October, he is with his soldiers. He has a team of 4 on the Nachal Oz base. He gets into the tank at around 7 o'clock, and I don't want to say too much details about it, but he fought very gallantly, protected, saved a lot of lives. But unfortunately, at around 9:01, one member of their tank was killed, and 4 were taken. Him and 2 others were taken hostage. Hamas were running alongside the tank, putting magnetic mines on the tank, shooting with a zero RPGs from zero range. They really saved a lot of people, as I just don't want to say too much about it for various reasons, but they saved a lot of people, and they eventually, just after 9, the tank was overrun. 1 member of the tank was killed, and my son, who, as I said, was injured. I mentioned he was injured, yeah? And the other 2 were there. So we heard only 4 days later, 5 days later, that he was officially considered missing, which means they have no footage, they don't know where he is, they don't know. They thank God don't have a body, but they don't know where he is and what he's up to, and whether he's on this other side of the border. They don't know anything. They don't have pictures, videos, nothing. 3 weeks later, they decided to change the definition. We'll have it. I feel bad. But, yeah. I mean, not very bad, a little bit bad. But they decided to they changed the definition to from missing to presumed taken captive. In 139 days, we know nothing of Daniel's whereabouts other than his injury. None of the hostages which have come back have seen him. Of the 9 soldiers which are hopefully alive, 9 soldiers from the 14 bases and different things, of those 9, there's only 2 which we know of that have, like in the last round of the hostage swaps, in the last round of the hostage releases, there's 2 hostages who saw 2 different soldiers, but the other 7 have not been seen or heard from, and also those 2 have not been seen or heard from in the last 70 days, whatever it is, or more. So it's not a simple situation. I'll show a picture of our son Daniel. We did not publicize pictures for a long time because as army, firstly for 3 weeks he was missing, and then once we knew of his whereabouts, we didn't want to publicize because the army told us not to, and he's an officer and a soldier. But about 4 weeks ago, no more, 6 weeks ago, we decided, almost all the soldier families we were very, very close to start publicizing, because we felt that the danger of not speaking about Hamas know they've got, and certainly in my son's case, and in the danger of not speaking about it is bigger than the danger of speaking about it, because the danger of speaking about it, not speaking about it means nobody knows about them. The danger and if we don't know, no one knows about them, and there's not public pressure on our government and beyond, then they are very exposed. There's no doubt that the most exposed of all of the hostages are the male soldiers. They're the ones who Hamas want the highest price for, and they want to leave them till the end. And that's very, very challenging. I personally was very, very pro the first hostage deal, because even though my son was not part of it, it makes sense under the circumstances and what's acceptable in international, morality. Children and women should come out first, especially when there's so many. But what's changed in the last time is almost 3 months have passed. In this time, it's much, much, bigger threat to their lives. And for me, the biggest issue is if the remaining 17 or 18 women, plus the 2 children, plus a number of soldiers, female soldiers come out as women, and maybe a few of the elderly men. The more these people today come out without an overall deal is a huge pikuach nefesh for our children, because you no longer have any, once the humanitarians are out, it's much harder. Look how hard it's been to show people in the world that Jewish women are women, that Jewish children are children, that Jewish elderly are elderly. How much harder the Kal V'chomer B'Manois are going to be to show how white, male, Jewish, soldier, officer, men are human beings. They've got so many things which put them at the back of the line. So we feel very strongly that there should not be a deal without information about the soldiers in stage 1, if it's going to be in stages, and the other stages have to be agreed on now. There has to be a misgerut, a framework for all of them. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really, really difficult. So we're meeting all the time with soldiers, with decision makers in the government all the time. And what I do say to people, what we're also doing, and you can perhaps help with, is that we have said that we're working very hard also with the US administration, and also with our non-American citizens. There are many who are American citizens and are dealing with the administration. I'm less with administration, but we are talking to American leaders and senators and congressmen and decision makers that America should not pressurize Israel to stop this war until 2 things have been achieved. Every single hostage is back home. It's humanitarian, period. This wasn't a war that we were seeking out. Everything was illegal done to us, and even if they're male soldiers, they were people who are conscripted, obligatory conscription, mandatory conscription, and were there to stop an illegal invasion. And A, and B, they should also not pressurize Israel to stop until Hamas as an organization does not have the infrastructure to do what it did to us on that day, because they threatened to do it again. So that, I think, is really important activism, and that's what we're dealing with. Most of the meetings I now go to are as soldier families, and that's all the campaigning that we're doing, because I think they are the most exposed. And that's this is a picture. It's also Hostage Square now. It's been for the last few weeks. This is our son Daniel. This is Daniel. This picture was taken on October the 6th at 6 o'clock, an hour before Shabbos. A friend of his went to visit him. It's outside his base, even though we just changed the picture a bit. But it's October 6th, 6 o'clock. So we have publicized his picture, and we're doing a lot of activism. Now, the truth is, I have so much to say. I'm a rabbi. The problem not with Rabbi Slovatek, with me and some other rabbis, is not getting us to talk, it's getting us to stop talking. So that's with me. I can keep going, and I know there's also lunch at 15:15, so I can keep going till I can keep going. But I know that I've got 7 minutes, and I want to give you some question time. So please feel free. There's lots that I want to say, but I'll give you some question time. Yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, we've seen the position of the South African government towards Israel. Has there been any support in the South African government for you and your family?
Can I ask you to switch off the recording?